when the historical Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, was awakened on seeing the morning star, he said, according to the Sutra, I and all beings of the great earth have together awakened to the way. Or another version is it, all beings of the great earth are the wisdom and perfection of the Buddha. But because of their delusion and attachment, they don't see this, they don't realize this, and they suffer. They do harm. So, because of that, after the Buddha was awakened, and he said he sat with his awakening for a number of days in that state, he decided to go out and teach, if we say it that way, or to enable people to relieve their suffering, because he saw how attachment and delusions, stories and things we cling to, create trouble and suffering and harm for us. So, the Heart Sutra, which we just recited, in a way is a roadmap for just the Buddha's teaching, just seeing how and what it takes to relieve suffering, or what it is that creates harming and suffering. It's a roadmap for us to see how to practice day in and day out. If we go down little by little, we could see where and how we're caught in thinking, self-centered thoughts, you want to say, feelings, emotions, beliefs, caught holding on to it and refusing to be this experiencing of being deep prajnaparamita, as the sutra says. Avalokitesvara is none other than ourself, not someone else out there. No, that kind of story is fine, but we have to see that being, seeing, hearing, responding to suffering and harming, whether it's so-called our own or others, is exactly what our task is. Avalokitesvara, Bodhisattva, being deep prajnaparamita. Of course, there's no such thing as deep prajnaparamita, but the task is to see it. Even saying Maha Prajna, great prajna in the title, is there small prajna? Is there different kinds of prajna? What is prajna? Prajna is the most natural functioning of who we are. It's not something added on. There's no one who lacks this. So this is perceiving the ongoing changing, the emptiness of any fixed, separateness that we believe we are. The five aggregates are a way of describing what our life is. And the five aggregates are not our story of it, our life, our body, mind, is not our story of it, except when we get caught up in self-centered thoughts and attachments and reactions, that we create trouble with these stories of what life is, what our life is, much less what the life of all the beings we encounter is. So saying it's empty, we can say it's full. Full, empty are just ways to skillfully guide our practice. When we're believing it's full, when we're believing form is the form, then sometimes we need to see that form is empty of form. Or say it more succinctly, seeing the story we add on about sensations, about perceptions. We're not in charge of those stories of the self-centered thinking, reaction, beliefs. We're not in charge of them arising. They arise for all sorts of cause and effect. But because we cling and hold on to them and believe them, we create difficulties for ourselves or others. Or as the Heart Sutra says in our translation, misfortune and pain, which need to be relieved. Relieved by what? By this practice of prajna wisdom, great prajna wisdom, that Avalokiteshvara does, that we do. That's the way over and over, if I say it, of Zazen, of noticing thoughts and making the appropriate effort to be exactly this form moment, this sensation moment, this conception moment, even these stories, discrimination and awareness that arise. This is why and how the Heart Sutra is such a guide to notice what different facets of what our habits are that blind us to the wisdom of our life, the wisdom of form that's exactly form, therefore form that's exactly emptiness, and emptiness that's exactly emptiness, the emptiness that's exactly form. See, these are skillful words, sometimes necessary in order to enable us to take care of what and how suffering seems to occur, and the consequences of harming and suffering that comes from being caught in self-centeredness. Not once, not twice, not 10 times, not 1,000 times, over and over, whenever this arises, our practice, our job, our opportunity is to notice, to do what's called for the different facets of what we're blinding ourselves and others with, creating the misfortune and pain that sometimes appears in our life, appears in the life of other beings, that we and others share. So in a sense, this Maha Prajna Paramita is a guide, and it continues as we go through it. We could see various aspects that we entangle and miss ourselves, whether it's not stained, not pure. Both ideas of stain and ideas of purity, loss and gain. So because we recite this over and over, we get to notice the different facets of it that enable us to see how and what practice is called for in our life, in this moment. Practice is being exactly the form of the moment. Wisdom, there is no big wisdom, little wisdom. There isn't deep and shallow wisdom. There's the wisdom of this moment, which even calling it wisdom is extra. So simply the experiencing doesn't take anything extra. No one lacks this. None of us lack it. And everyone we encounter does. Is this wisdom, this Maha Prajna? And yet, missing it creates trouble and difficulty because of the things we do. The things we do. So, I encourage all of us to have this Heart Sutra as an ongoing guide to how and what our life is and how and what to live the life we are. See, the whole of practice is not about becoming something else, but truly being who we are, or, if I say it a different way, noticing how and where we're caught up in form, in sensations, in stories. So, this is what we do when we sit zazen. This is what we do in all the forms of our life. Eating, working, sleeping is all forms of emptiness, forms of form doing just this moment of our life, this experiencing. And it doesn't matter if we have to notice it 1 time, 10 times, 100 times, 10,000 times, just every day, every time there's this opportunity. Please make good use. Be the Prajna Paramita. Reciting the Prajna Paramita helps remind us of aspects and facets of our life and also of our life practice effort that's called for. Thank you.